You know what's funny? In a world where everyone's showing off their face, their life, their meals, their vacations, the women who don't post on social media are the ones that make people the most curious. There's something mysterious about them. And I'll tell you this as a woman, that mystery is not random. It's calculated. Whether she realizes it or not, it's part of her psychology. Now, let's be clear. Not every woman who stays off social media is hiding something. But the ones who consciously choose silence in a world obsessed with validation, those are the ones you should really pay attention to. Because that silence, it's powerful. It says, you don't get access to my world unless I choose to give it. And that kind of control is intoxicating. Not just for her, but for the people watching her too. See, men often think the women who post a lot are the ones to watch. But the truth is, the quiet ones often have a much deeper game. They're not seeking likes, they're studying people who are. They understand that attention loses value when it's easy to get, and they use that knowledge to stay 2 steps ahead, emotionally and socially. There's a dark psychology behind that choice, because restraint in itself is a form of power. When a woman doesn't post, she's not giving you clues about her emotions, her relationships, or her insecurities. She keeps you guessing, and that guessing fuels your fascination. It's a silent form of control, one that makes men lean in without even realizing why. So today, I'm going to break down the truth behind women who don't post on social media. What they're really thinking, what they gain from staying quiet, and how that decision can completely change the way men perceive them, and even how men should respond. Let's dive into the dark psychology of women who stay hidden in plain sight. 1. The power of being unseen. Let me tell you something most men overlook. Visibility is overrated. You see those women posting every angle of their lives, filtered selfies, vacation shots, long captions about self-love. They look confident on the surface, but a lot of that confidence is performative. It's built on how much attention they can get, not how much peace they can keep. Now the woman who doesn't post, she's playing a different game entirely. She knows that the more people see of her, the less curious they become. So she does the opposite. She makes you wonder. She lets your imagination fill in the blanks, and that's where her quiet power lies. Because curiosity always fuels attraction. When a woman removes herself from the noise, she instantly stands out. She's not competing for attention. She's commanding it without effort. It's like walking into a crowded room where everyone's talking. And the person who says nothing suddenly becomes the most interesting one there. That's how she operates online. She understands that silence draws eyes in a way noise never can. There's also something deeply psychological about her restraint. Most people are addicted to showing proof of their happiness. Pictures, stories, comments. But a woman who doesn't need to prove anything signals control. She's comfortable in her privacy. That calm, grounded energy feels different. It's rare. And that's what men feel when they come across her, even if they can't explain it. Let me paint the picture. Imagine a woman who used to post all the time. She'd share her meals, tag her friends, upload stories daily. Then, one day she stops. No updates, no posts. Her account goes quiet. You might assume she's just busy. But the truth? That silence starts echoing in people's minds. What happened? Is she okay? Did something change? And that's exactly where her power begins. Because when people don't know, they think. When they think, they wonder. When they wonder, they look. And when they look, she controls what they find. Or don't. Being unseen doesn't mean being absent. It means being intentional about your presence. The less she shows, the more she influences. Because in today's world, Mystery is the ultimate luxury, and not everyone can afford it. That's why the unseen woman holds such power. She doesn't have to announce her worth. She doesn't need to prove she's doing fine. She simply is. And that quiet confidence is what drives people crazy. Her power doesn't come from visibility. It comes from restraint. And that's what most men never notice, until she's the one they can't stop thinking about. 2. Why silence makes her more desirable. Let's be honest. Silence is unsettling in a world that's addicted to noise. Everyone's constantly broadcasting something: opinions, emotions, selfies, achievements. So when a woman doesn't, her silence stands out. It creates space for curiosity, imagination, and desire to build. Because she's not feeding you everything. She's letting you wonder. Here's what men don't always realize. Attraction isn't just about beauty, it's about mystery. And silence is one of the purest forms of mystery. When a woman keeps quiet about her personal life, she automatically becomes more intriguing. Not because she's hiding something, but because she's showing control. She's not trying to prove anything to anyone. And that lack of neediness, that's magnetic. See, when a woman constantly posts, you can map out her emotions. You can see when she's happy, sad, frustrated, or seeking validation. You can sense when she's trying to show someone she's moved on. It's all there in the details, captions, filters, timing. But when she goes silent, none of that data exists. You can't read her. You can't analyze her. And that drives people, especially men, crazy. Men are naturally drawn to what they can't fully figure out. It's not just attraction, it's biology. The mind craves to solve puzzles, to understand the unknown. And when a woman gives you less, you project more. You start imagining her energy, her lifestyle, her mindset. That mental engagement creates emotional attachment. You're investing in a woman you barely even know, because your curiosity fills in the blanks. Silence also signals strength. A woman who doesn't need to announce every detail of her life is sending a quiet message. I'm not performing. I'm just living. That's rare. And rare always equals value. It's the same reason diamonds are expensive. Scarcity makes things precious. Her silence gives her that same kind of value. What's fascinating is that her quietness doesn't mean she's passive. In fact, it's often strategic. She knows how people behave online. She knows how curiosity spreads. So she lets people wonder. And in that wondering, she becomes unforgettable. 3. The truth about control and perception. Here's something most men don't realize. When a woman doesn't post, she's not just avoiding social media. She's controlling perception. And that's a powerful psychological move. Every time someone shares online, they're giving away information about their emotions, relationships, and even insecurities. But when she stays silent, she gives away nothing. That means she controls how others perceive her, and that's where her quiet dominance begins. Women understand, consciously or not, that perception is everything. What people think about you is often more powerful than what's actually true. When she doesn't post, people can't label her. Is she taken, single, bored, thriving? No one knows. And that uncertainty works in her favor. Because when people don't know your reality, they imagine the best possible version of it. Her silence lets them do that. It's psychological chess. She's not playing for likes. She's playing for positioning. By staying off the stage, she creates an image of depth. People start assuming she's focused, private, selective, mature, even if she's just choosing peace. That's how perception works. The less people know, the more they respect what they think they know. And this is where many men misunderstand female behavior. They think a woman who doesn't post is shy or uninterested in attention. But no, she just values control over exposure. See, attention isn't always power. The right kind of attention is. And when she limits access to her world, She filters who gets to see her, think about her, or even wonder about her. That filtering process keeps her in control of her narrative. Another part of this is emotional self-protection. The online world feeds on reactions, jealousy, validation, comparison. But a woman who doesn't engage with that is harder to manipulate. You can't guilt her with silence or test her with posts. You can't measure her feelings based on her activity. Her stillness protects her from emotional games, and in doing that, she maintains the upper hand. Control isn't always loud. In fact, the strongest form of control is subtle. It's the kind you don't even notice happening, and that's what makes her behavior so psychologically powerful. She's influencing how people see her by saying nothing at all. When a woman removes herself from the social stage, she takes back control over how she's perceived. Not because she's hiding, but because she knows mystery multiplies value. And that's something men deeply respond to, even if they can't explain why. Her silence doesn't make her less visible. It makes her untouchable. And that's a form of control that's far more powerful than anything a selfie could ever achieve. 4. Emotional privacy, her strongest shield. One thing you have to understand about women who don't post is this: they protect their emotions like it's sacred currency. And in today's world, that's rare, because emotional privacy has become almost extinct. Everyone is broadcasting their thoughts, feelings, and heartbreaks in real time. But the woman who stays quiet? She refuses to play that game. Her emotions are hers, and she guards them with intention. Now, here's the truth. Women feel deeply. We think, we analyze, we overthink sometimes. But the mature woman has learned that not every feeling deserves an audience. That's what separates her from the rest. She's not emotionless. She's self-disciplined. She knows that when people can read your emotions, they can predict your moves. And once they can predict you, they can control you. That's why she keeps her emotional world private. Her silence doesn't mean she's closed off. It means she's selective about where she invests emotionally. She's learned that privacy is peace, and that peace is power. Think about it. Every time you see someone vent online, post quotes about betrayal or healing, you can instantly sense what's happening in their life. You know who they're talking about. You know their emotional state. That transparency feels good in the moment, but it gives away power. A woman who doesn't post understands this perfectly. She doesn't need validation from comments or sympathy from strangers. She deals with her emotions privately because she knows how to self-regulate. That's emotional intelligence at its finest, and it makes her more grounded, more centered, more mysterious. To men, that emotional control reads as confidence. Because a woman who isn't moved by external reactions feels secure in herself. She doesn't chase closure or attention. She doesn't post a new chapter caption to prove she's over someone. She simply moves on, quietly. And that silence has impact. It forces people to feel the absence of her presence, which is often louder than words could ever be. This kind of emotional privacy also keeps her protected from manipulation. When people can't read your feelings, they can't use them against you. They can't trigger reactions, guilt, or jealousy. They're left guessing, and that guessing keeps her in control. 5. How mystery creates emotional leverage. Mystery is one of the most misunderstood forms of power a woman can have. Most people assume it's just about being secretive. But real mystery isn't about hiding. It's about strategic silence. It's about knowing what to reveal and what to keep sacred. And for women who don't post on social media, that mystery becomes their emotional leverage. It quietly influences how people feel, think, and react to them without them lifting a finger. Here's how it works. When you know less about someone, your mind fills in the blanks. And what your mind creates is often more powerful than reality. You imagine their life, their relationships, their personality. And that imagination builds emotional investment. That's why mystery keeps people hooked. It's not about being manipulative. It's about letting curiosity work in your favor. Let's say there's a woman who used to be active online, always updating, posting stories, sharing everything. Then suddenly she stops. Her account goes still. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months. She's nowhere to be seen. The people who used to scroll past her now pause. They start to wonder, is she okay? Did she change? Who's she seeing? What's going on? And just like that, she has emotional leverage. Not because she did anything, but because she stopped doing everything. Her absence becomes her message. Her silence triggers curiosity, and curiosity creates emotional pull. People miss her without realizing why. Men, especially, start noticing the space she left. Because when you remove attention, you force others to feel its loss. Women who master this understand that attention is a currency and mystery is how you make it valuable. The less available you are, visually, emotionally, or socially, the more your presence matters when it's finally felt. That's how attraction deepens. Not through constant visibility, but through controlled distance. What's interesting is that mystery doesn't just attract, it protects too. When you're unpredictable, people can't manipulate or define you. You become harder to read, harder to judge, and much harder to replace. Men find themselves drawn in without understanding why, because mystery activates pursuit. It makes them want to figure her out. 6. The difference between confidence and concealment. There's a fine line between confidence and concealment, and understanding that difference is key to reading women who stay off social media. A lot of men assume that a woman who doesn't post must be hiding something. A relationship, insecurity, or secret life. But most of the time, that's not what's happening. Her silence doesn't come from fear, it comes from confidence. Confidence says, I don't need to prove my worth to be seen. Concealment says, I'm afraid of being seen for who I really am. The energy behind both might look similar, but they feel very different. A confident woman doesn't post because she's secure in her identity. She doesn't crave validation. She doesn't need to show proof of happiness, and she doesn't care if people wonder what she's doing. She's grounded in her own reality. A woman operating from concealment, on the other hand, avoids posting because she's hiding, maybe from her past, her truth, or her own insecurities. Her silence feels anxious, defensive, and heavy. There's a tension behind it, like she's afraid of being exposed. You can usually sense the difference through her energy in person. Confidence feels calm, concealment feels guarded. The women we're talking about, the ones who truly don't post, usually fall into the first category. Their detachment from social media is an extension of their self-trust. They don't need public applause to validate private peace. That's confidence in its purest form. See, real confidence doesn't announce itself. It's quiet. It shows up in how a woman carries herself, not in what she broadcasts. When a woman posts constantly, even if it looks glamorous, there's often a subtle plea for recognition underneath it. But when she disappears from that cycle and still radiates calm and self-assurance, she becomes magnetic. Because confidence, when silent, feels powerful, men are instinctively drawn to women who don't need to be seen to feel valuable. It signals emotional independence. It tells you she's not performing for approval, and that's incredibly attractive, because a woman like that can't be easily swayed or manipulated. But here's the nuance. Her silence doesn't mean she's inaccessible or cold. It just means she values connection in real life more than in pixels. She chooses presence over performance. And when a woman lives like that, she naturally commands more respect. Not because she asks for it, but because her energy demands it. 7. What men need to learn from her disappearing act. Here's the part most men don't think about. The woman who disappears from social media isn't just showing you something about her. She's revealing something powerful about how to move in life, in dating and in relationships. Her silence teaches lessons that go way beyond gender, because what she's mastered is emotional discipline, and that's something every man could benefit from. Let's be honest. Men today are just as guilty of seeking validation as women. The difference is, men often do it indirectly. You might post a gym picture, a status update, or a story with a hint of pride. Not to show off, but to prove something. Maybe to an ex, to your peers, or even to yourself. It's that quiet need to be seen. But here's what her silence reminds you. Attention doesn't equal respect, and exposure doesn't equal value. A woman who doesn't post understands that validation is a trap. It feels good in the short term, but it slowly weakens you. Because the more you depend on others to see your worth, the less control you have over your peace. That's what men need to learn from her. She's not addicted to being noticed. She's addicted to being centered. Her disappearing act is a form of strength that most people can't replicate because it requires self-control. You can't disappear unless you're comfortable being unseen. And that's exactly what makes her so powerful. She's not afraid of being forgotten. She trusts that her value speaks for itself, whether people are watching or not. For men, that's the key takeaway. If you can move like that, detached from needing recognition, focused on your mission, calm in your silence, you instantly become more attractive, more respected, and more powerful, because quiet confidence doesn't chase, it attracts. The truth is, she's playing the game most people don't even know exists. While others fight for visibility, she gains influence by being unpredictable. While others share everything, she becomes unforgettable by sharing nothing. And that's the paradox. The less she shows, the more she's remembered. Here's the truth. In today's world, silence is rebellion. And the woman who doesn't post on social media is quietly rebelling against everything society teaches us about attention, validation, and worth. She's not hiding. She's choosing peace over performance, and that choice is powerful. From a female perspective, I'll tell you this honestly. Women like that don't disappear because they're lost. They disappear because they've evolved. They've realized they don't owe the world access to their emotions, their growth, or their relationships. And that's something more men need to understand. You don't have to announce your worth to be valuable. You don't have to be visible to be powerful. Her silence isn't weakness. It's self-respect. It's discipline. It's control. She's teaching you something most people never learn. That mystery amplifies value and privacy protects peace. So if you've ever been intrigued by a woman who stays off social media, understand that what you're really drawn to isn't her absence. It's her balance. It's the strength behind her stillness. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever met a woman like this? The kind who doesn't post, doesn't show off, but somehow stays on your mind long after she's gone quiet? Drop your experience in the comments. Let's talk about it. I'll be reading through them and responding. Because the truth is, women who move in silence often have the loudest impact. And once you understand why, you'll never see them the same way again.